The power flickered, plunging the cramped cabin into an unsettling gloom. Rain lashed against the thin walls, the wind howling like a banshee outside. I fumbled for the kerosene lamp, its yellow glow a beacon in the suffocating darkness. A draft slithered through a crack in the window, sending a shiver down my spine. Great. Just what I needed. A power outage in the middle of nowhere during a storm. I'd inherited the cabin from a distant relative, a recluse who'd spent his final years shrouded in mystery. The locals whispered about him, their voices laced with a superstitious fear I couldn't quite grasp. Now, stranded here due to a flat tire and a dying phone, I was starting to understand. The lamp cast an elongated shadow that danced on the rough-hewn wooden walls. A sudden creak from upstairs sent a jolt through me. The cabin wasn't exactly spacious, but it felt oddly labyrinthine in the flickering light. Must have been the storm playing tricks on my mind. Then I caught a glimpse of the mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. It was dusty and neglected, the silver frame tarnished with age. An unsettling urge, akin to an unwelcome whisper, snaked through me. Don't look in the mirror. It was an absurd thought, but it clung to me like cobwebs. Ignoring it, I approached the mirror and raised the lamp for a better look. My reflection stared back, dark circles etched under my eyes, hair a tangled mess. A shiver ran down my spine. There was something off. My eyes, usually a warm hazel, seemed colder, a flicker of something alien gleaming within them. Suddenly the reflection blinked, not a normal blink, a slow, deliberate closing and opening of its eyes, completely out of sync with mine. My breath hitched in my throat. It blinked again, a slow, menacing flutter. Panic surged through me. I stumbled back, knocking over a chair. The crash echoed in the eerie silence of the storm. My heart hammered against my ribs, trapped in a frantic drum solo. I had to get out of here. This cabin, this damn mirror, whatever was happening, I couldn't face it any longer. But as I lurched towards the door, another sound stopped me cold. Laughter. Soft, throaty laughter that seemed to emanate from the mirror itself. It was a sound devoid of joy, filled with a chilling malice that sent goosebumps erupting all over my skin. It was laughing at my fear. Terror rooted me to the spot. The lamp seemed to burn dimmer, casting grotesque shadows that danced across the walls. The laughter grew louder, a horrifying chorus echoing from within the confines of the mirror. With a desperate lunge, I grabbed a thick blanket from the bed and draped it over the mirror, smothering its mocking reflection. The laughter died down to a low, guttural hum. My breathing was ragged, my mind a whirlwind of terror. Time seemed to warp and stretch. The storm raged outside, a relentless symphony of wind and rain. I remained huddled on the floor, fear a constant companion. The humming from the mirror was barely audible now, a sinister pulse in the oppressive darkness. As the night wore on, exhaustion finally claimed me. I drifted into an uneasy sleep, haunted by nightmares where eyes flickered in the darkness and laughter echoed through endless hallways. The first sliver of daylight filtering through the cracks rekindled a flicker of hope. I was still alive. The storm had subsided, leaving behind an eerie silence. Tentatively, I reached for the blanket, my hand shaking. What greeted me in the mirror sent a fresh wave of terror crashing over me. It wasn't my reflection anymore. Staring back at me from the tarnished glass was a grotesque caricature, a warped version of myself. The eyes were hollow pits, filled with an unnatural light. The smile stretched impossibly wide, revealing a row of razor-sharp teeth. But it was the inscription scrawled across the glass in a spidery script that truly chilled me to the bone. Let it in. Panic seized me again. I had to get out. But as I fumbled for the doorknob, the reflection lunged. Its distorted face contorted into a grotesque mask of rage, teeth snapping as if reaching for me. The door creaked open a sliver just as the thing in the mirror slammed against the glass, the force of the impact sending shivers through me. I didn't dare look back, just threw myself out into the crisp morning air and sprinted towards the car. The road stretched before me, a lifeline out of this nightmare. I didn't look back until I was miles away. The image of the distorted reflection burned into my memory. I haven't gone back to the cabin. I live in a different city now, surrounded by the reassuring noise of traffic and the comforting hum of normalcy. But the nightmares haven't stopped. Every night, I find myself back in the cabin, the flickering lamp casting grotesque shadows. The laughter echoes, a symphony of mocking whispers. The reflection taunts me, its voice a warped echo of mine. Let it in. Let us be one. The inscription on the mirror has become an unwelcome mantra in my head. I don't know what it is, what being one with the reflection entails, but the very thought sends a cold dread coursing through me. I've tried everything to dull the nightmares. Sleeping pills, therapy sessions. Nothing seems to work. The therapist, a kind woman with a perpetually furrowed brow, thinks it's all just trauma manifesting itself. Maybe she's right. Maybe it's just the cabin, the storm, a warped reflection playing tricks on a sleep-deprived mind. But then there's the mirror. It wasn't there when I inherited the cabin. A neighbor, a gruff old man who barely acknowledges me, mentioned it was brought in by my relative shortly before his death. He wouldn't elaborate, just muttered about keeping things at bay. Keeping what things at bay? Is the reflection the it wants to let in? Or is there something even more sinister lurking behind the glass? Driven by a morbid curiosity and a desperate hope to understand, I revisit the online forums I scoured after the incident. There, buried beneath threads about creepy cabins and haunted locations, I find a chilling account. It's a journal entry, dated decades ago, from someone claiming to be a distant relative of my own. The entry talks about a ritual, a practice involving an ancient mirror and a forgotten entity trapped within. The entity feeds on fear, grows stronger with each reflection of its prey. It whispers promises of power in exchange for letting it in, for becoming one with it. The entry ends abruptly, the final sentence unfinished. It's like the writer suddenly stopped, their fear reaching a fever pitch. Could this be what happened to my relative? Did he succumb to the entity's whispers, becoming one with the reflection in the mirror? The realization hits me like a physical blow. The inscription, the nightmares, the entity's growing influence, it all clicks into place. I'm trapped in a cycle, and every time I sleep, I get closer to letting it in. Desperate, I reach out to an occult bookstore in the city, a dusty haven of forgotten lore and whispered rumors. The old woman who runs the place, her eyes as sharp as her tongue, confirms my suspicions. The mirror, she explains, is a conduit, a gateway to an entity that feeds on fear and despair. There's a way to sever the connection, she says, but it's dangerous. It involves facing the reflection at its strongest, during a full moon, at the stroke of midnight. I have to confront the entity in its own domain and perform a ritual of banishment, a reversal of the one that brought it here. The thought fills me with dread, but the alternative, becoming one with that malicious entity, is far worse. So I prepare. I research the ritual, gather the necessary ingredients, herbs said to ward off evil, blessed water, and a silver knife. The night of the full moon arrives, cloaking the world in an eerie silver glow. I drive back to the cabin, the air thick with the anticipation of dread. The storm-battered structure seems to loom over me, an ominous silhouette against the moonlit sky. Inside, the dust motes dance in the moonlight, filtering through the boarded-up windows. The air hangs heavy, charged with a tangible malevolence. Stepping in, I feel the entity's presence stronger than ever, a cold sweat clinging to my skin. The mirror is draped with a thick black cloth. I take a deep breath, steeling myself, and rip the cloth away. The reflection is even more grotesque than in my memories. Its voice, a distorted echo of mine, booms across the room, laced with a chilling amusement. You've come back, it rasps, but it's too late. You're already mine. Fear threatens to engulf me, but I fight it back, focusing on the ritual. I trace the symbols with the silver knife, chanting the words gleaned from the dusty pages of the occult book. The air crackles with energy. The entity in the mirror writhes, its distorted face contorting in rage. The room grows cold, the temperature dropping by several degrees. The chanting becomes hoarse, strained. Just as I near the final verse, the entity unleashes a wave of pure terror. It's a force that threatens to shatter my sanity, but I grit my teeth, the words spilling from my lips like a prayer.